Greetings, fencers. So today we're going to go through some of the GoNow foam swords or trainers. So these can be bought at Spes directly from GoNow, both in Poland, or from Purple Art Armory also has some of them. First we'll go through, why would you want these, what's their use, and then we'll go through some of the qualities of them, what do they feel like, and then what don't I like about them, and what's their durability like. First, what's the use of them? Well, it's really nice just for having no gear sparring. So even without a mask, I've gotten hit by these in the head. Getting hit with a boxing glove hurt more. So they're not going to hit super hard, but you definitely, use a mask in general. And then you don't have to worry at all. They can also hit hard on the hand, so you can wear gloves as well. So they're really nice for outdoor sparring. All you need is just the sword and the mask when it's really hot out. For new people who are starting off and don't have any gear. So it's just really nice for a fun time, just getting to do some full intensity sparring with less gear. So that way you actually get to use your mobility. You're not being weighed down by equipment or heavy jackets. You're able to cross your arms in different techniques, etc. So it's all good for doing that at a full speed intensity. You don't have to pull your hits. So we have three different versions. We have the light longswords, we have the lightsabers, and the heavy longswords. So first, going through the light longswords, one, they're at a weight where you can fit 2 hockey gloves easily on it. Lots of room, nice long handle. It's also a nice thin handle, which is especially nice for kids, because that's one of the big uses for these, is using them, giving them out to kids. We had a lot of families get them, so we have about 12 of these throughout our group. A lot of them bought pairs of them, that way they can use them with their kids as well. So it's nice for that. Small hands can hold them easily. And it's also great that they have a hard cross guard. Now, that's actually the one thing that's given us the worst injury, was one of the times 2 cross guards hit each other's hands. So that can happen, but I think it's really nice having a cross guard. It's really important to make it feel more like a sword and not just a club. So you can actually do some techniques with it. And specifically for the light longsword, it can be used one-handed very easily, no problem. So you really don't have to worry with that at all. And one thing that's nice with these, they all roughly have a point of balance of 2 inches. So it's pretty good feeling. It feels like a sword. It doesn't feel like a club. It doesn't feel too light or too heavy either direction. It has a nice pommel weight, crossguard weight, and blade weight. So it actually feels like a sword, which is good. It's got a full plastic core all the way throughout, and then foam surrounding it. The foam is wrapped up in plastic and then felt over top of that. So lots of layers, padding is good. Everything works fine. This is an older version that doesn't have the big rubber pommels. The newer versions do, and this is one of the heavy long swords. So this one, you can see quite a big. It's a bit longer. It's not a huge amount longer, but it is a big hefty chunk. It also has a significantly thicker handle, just significantly wider tube, which does make it a lot chunkier. It is definitely made for an adult, and kids, can still hold it, but it definitely swings a lot harder, a little bit heavier, and longer handle, so you can fit longer gloves on it. And it also, because it's longer, it does bend a bit more, especially when it's warm out. And so most of them are pretty stiff that you can't thrust, but this one actually will bend a bunch, especially when it's hot out. And so we've been able to do thrusts, and it's fine. As long as you're staying controlled, you're not lunging full speed at them to try and jab them. As long as you're being safe, these you actually can still thrust. So this is the lightsabers.
What is it? Your father's lightsaber.
So they're nice for cutlass, deusac, saber, hanger, any type of lighter weapon. Hand protection already built in. You really can't fit any other glove protection in here apart from just leather gloves, so you really can't pad up anymore. So I think I have had some people take some hard hits on the hands, and it can still hurt when your finger gets crushed into a handle. So again, it's pretty rigid, so it doesn't move as much. Now, a couple things that this one actually has that I would like the longsword to have as well. Now, GoNow is always updating their catalog. They have tons of different swords, and I think they're always making new ones and always updating it. So you can check out what they have directly from them, and you can see the full amount of what they offer. But you can see that this is actually squared instead of a cylinder. So it actually has a bit more of an edge visible. You can actually tell which side you're hitting on. Now this one actually came crooked, so the edge is sticking out one direction kind of, so still doesn't help that much. But it also has a more oval handle, which is nice. This helps with edge alignment a lot more in sort of feeling what your edge is like. With these are complete cylinders, and it doesn't really feel super nice. I've even found myself losing the edge and hitting with flats at times without realizing it. So it's very easy for it to get lost in your hand because it's just a complete circle. Now, the only two parts about durability, we've had our main ones for the club for over 10 months. Obviously, a lot of that is during COVID, so they haven't been used as much, but they've been used for lots of sparring, lots of hard sparring, and we've gotten a good sense of what they're like. The two pieces of durability that can be affected is the foam will move around inside of it. So here, the foam has completely left a couple areas where we're generally impacting someone. So that will happen. It hits a little bit harder there now because there's a little bit less foam, but it's still not too bad. You know, I feel a little bit more than if I were to hit there. You know, not that big a deal, in my opinion, because it's still hitting so much lighter than a Fed or synthetic. And the felt will rip on it. So a mask is essentially like a cheese grater to it. It'll scrape along it and rip it. Not every time, but it does happen often. So there are rips in lots of these, especially where it gets hit again and again, and once it starts to rip, it's more likely to continue ripping. So a couple of these have the foam or plastic underneath showing at the tip, and that's something that, you know, eventually will have to be taped up over time. But for what these swords are used for, just sparring with less gear, less stuff for it to get caught on and ripped on, so just the masks, or even without the masks. If you're just using it for that, it shouldn't be getting too much use. This isn't your primary sword that you're using for your drills, etc. So if you were to do drills over and over with them, where you're hitting a mask 100 times a day, well then, yeah, it's probably gonna not last that long. But I'd rather use a synthetic or steel for that and save these just for sparring without gear. And even then, not sparring every time without gear. We still want to use other swords at times without gear. This is just when we want high intensity without gear. So for that purpose, I think the durability is still good enough. You might have to tape it after, 6 months to a year at a couple points where it's going to last. And it's not like the foam is loose in there. It's not going to fly out at you. It's covered in plastic and is one solid piece. So everything's still good. But yeah, I highly recommend these for your club. They're just a nice added sword for a specific purpose, just for training high intensity without gear. Full impact. You really don't have to pull your cuts. You will be aware that these move extremely fast, so you do want to make sure that you're at a point where you are using your proper cutting structure. You're not able to just flick the sword at people. You want to actually practice how you cut when you're cutting with it, so that takes a little bit of just experience to make sure you're using it like a sword and not using it like a foam sword. And they will, in general, move faster regardless, even if you're cutting properly. So there's often going to be afterblows, but again, it's just in fun. It doesn't matter if there's going to be, a bunch of afterblows, etc. It's just fun to use and sort of whack your friends with. Thanks for watching. Keep studying, keep practicing.